Indore being the cleanest city in India. And I know that you have had a very important role to play there. You were collector in Indore from 2015 to 2017. 2017, I think, is the first year when the Swachh Survekshan happened and Indore was the cleanest city.
If you are able to change the behavior of the person, you don't need to actually the government need not give money for construction of toilets. Honorable Prime Minister wants to make this country the largest economy by 2047, 5 trillion economy by 2025, and these are all possible figures. And who will do these things? We are going to do that. Nobody else is going to do that. We are going to do that.
Making Gwalior one of the most accessible cities, right? But you've made a set of changes in the city so that it becomes accessible for the differently abled, for the old age people, and so on and so forth. It also got covered in Satyadev Jayate. This episode of Sushasan on Campus comes to you from IIM Indore. Indore, as we know, has been one of the cleanest cities in India for many years now. And today, my guest on Sushasan is somebody who's played a critical role in making that happen in the initial years. I'm talking about Mr. P Narahari, a 2001 batch IAS officer of the Madhya Pradesh cadre. He's somebody who was an early adopter of social media inside the bureaucracy and really leveraged it to engage with the citizens. He's somebody who keeps documenting his work by writing books even while he's kind of actively engaged in delivery and service. And he's taking a leaf from his own journey. He supports underprivileged kids who are UPSC aspirants with their preparations. Do watch out this inspirational episode of Sushasan on Campus with Mr. P Narahari. So there's no better place to have this conversation. Also, I'm personally really looking forward to it for two reasons. One is that a lot of the bureaucrats, when they do things which are really transformative at a national level or which get national accolades or which are replicated across the entire country, that typically tends to happen in the later years of their tenure when they are kind of 25, 30, 35 years into service. But you are right now 22 years into service and already you have so many feathers in your cap in terms of really genuine transformative things which are being replicated across the country. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about those things. And also, as we're doing the research before this, you're a very, very interesting personality. You do a lot of things which are also beyond your core work, which is very inspiring. I'm not going to give it away right now by talking about all of it, but I want to have the conversation on each one of those things as we move forward. So first things first, Indore being the cleanest city in India, and I know that you've had a very important role to play there. You were collector in Indore from 2015 to 2017. 2017, I think, is the first year when the Swachh Survekshan happened and Indore was the cleanest city, and also just kind of maintained that track record since then. Also subsequently you were Commissioner Municipal Administration, through which you were responsible for all the municipal corporations in the state including Indore. So you played a seminal role there. I'll ask about the how of it, but before that, what was the genesis of it? When did you guys as an administration or as a political executive, how did you decide that this is our North Star and we really want to do whatever we can to make Indore clean?
It's really great to be here and thanks to wonderful audience, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be a great session. I'll mention about the Indore story. I have also written a book on Swacch Indore, and foreword was written by Sachin Tendulkar. That gives a lot of insights into this particular journey, how Indore became the cleanest city. And for administrators, for the future management guys, this is a very important lesson that we all need to understand. So I was posted as collector in Indore in April 2015, and in the October 2014, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi announced the Swachh Bharat mission. As I was collector prior to Indore also, I was collector Sivni, Singrauli, Gwalior, and also I worked in different other districts as CEO Zilla Panchayat and other places. So I also worked under several such campaigns, like there used to be one called Total Sanitation Campaign, and later there was one campaign by name Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan. And when I landed as collector here, so this Swachh Bharat mission was already announced. Now I would like to mention what is the difference between the earlier campaigns and this campaign. Why Swachh Bharat mission became a successful campaign, whereas the earlier campaigns, Total Sanitation Campaign or Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan, couldn't take off that much what Swachh Bharat mission has been able to do. The reason being, for the first time ever, the government of India introduced a concept of competition amongst districts and municipal corporations and Zilla Panchayats. So there was this campaign of ranking the districts, the municipal corporations or the Zilla Panchayats on an all India level. For example, we have more than about more than 400 municipal corporations in the country. In 2016, for the first time ever, all the municipal corporations were ranked on the basis of cleanliness. And in 2016, Indore was ranked 25th in that particular rankings. And before to that, the Zilla Parishads of all, the Zilla Panchayats of all the country were also ranked. And that is when in 2015, as soon as I joined, myself along with my CEO Zilla Panchayat, Mr. Ashish Singh, who went on to become the municipal commissioner here, and presently Bhopal collector, and the public representatives. I'd like to mention here a very important thing, that the Zilla Panchayat president at that point of time went on to become a Rajya Sabha member because of making Indore the cleanest Zilla Panchayat. That's empowerment I would like to mention here. And all the public representatives, we all decided that we should make Indore Zilla Panchayat the cleanest in the country. And we should come on as the top Zilla Panchayat in the entire country. And that is when, in a period of about 6 months, a campaign. So as I was mentioning, I worked in other earlier campaigns as well, but we succeeded and when Indore Zilla Panchayat first, prior to Indore city becoming the cleanest city, Indore Zilla Panchayat became the second cleanest Zilla Panchayat in the entire country. And there were several new strategies that we actually developed. One, as I mentioned to you, the ranking system that was introduced by this government in 2014. And second thing, the strategies that we developed at the local level.
But this decision to say that we want to shoot for the #1 spot, that came through the rankings, because the rankings is what got everyone thinking. You were at 25, you said you want to become #1, and it was a decision of the local administration and the elected representatives together to say let's kind of go for it. So which also goes on to say that just that visibility being created through the rankings and people kind of coming together and saying that we want to do something can be a starting point in itself, and a lot of other things then happen after that.
Absolutely.
Like, coming to the strategies, right? I'm sure you've done many things, and there would be something that you started off with and subsequently kept on adding things. But if you look at the first couple of years, what do you think are the core pillars of that strategy that finally led to Indore coming to #1?
Yeah, as I was mentioning, first we did Indore Zilla Panchayat, and then we sat down with the municipal corporation, the mayor and the municipal commissioner and all the corporators, and we sat down with them, and by which time the ranking of 2016 such survection had come, and we were 25th. And that is when we decided if Zilla Panchayat can become second, come second in the country, why can't the city come first or second in the country from 25? And that is when we all sat down to decide that we need to have certain strategies. And that strategies actually enabled Indore becoming the cleanest city in the country. First and foremost, it should never be that, officers decide that we are going to make the cleanest city. No, it is your wishful thinking. You need to actually have everybody on board, and that is what I would say that made Indore the cleanest city. One, the public representatives. Two, the government officials. Three, the media, who gave a lot of importance to this whole campaign. The civic society, the NGOs, the I would say there is resident welfare associations and the citizens. Everybody came on board for the first time, and we decided that we will run a campaign that will enable Indore becoming the cleanest city. And then we had, communication, that is the most important thing in today's era. If we decide that we have to make Indore cleanest city, it needs to be translated and well received by the public. And public should actually own that campaign. Once public, the campaign from the government actually gets into the hands of public, then public will actually run the campaign, and that is what exactly is happening today. Even though I left as collector of Indore, even though the then municipal commissioner left city, even though mayor has been changed, still we are for the 6th time the cleanest city in the country, and thanks to the public of Indore. And that is the reason today it is public campaign and it's not government campaign anymore.
That's a very important point that you're making. Once the campaign shifts from the government to the citizens, to the public, that's when sustainability gets ensured. The other part of sustainability here also is that you've continued to be at rank 1. It's one thing to get to rank 1, it's a different game to kind of, because others are also putting in effort. It's not that other municipal corporations across the country are not fighting for the same this thing, and they're also kind of working towards it. So you need to constantly innovate and constantly kind of do new things to remain there. But I first want to, for everyone, understand what were the 3-4 main things as part of that campaign. What were the core things that happened that led to this?
I'd like to mention here the most important thing was actually removing the dustbins from the city. You know, classically what happens is dustbin is the most unclean place that you will find in any city. So there is a dustbin, and people classically put the dust, the waste not in the dustbin, you know, outside the dustbin as well. You know, the garbage bin. So we removed all the garbage bins from the city.
About the larger garbage bins that you see, which are kind of
even today you will not find a single garbage bin in the city, because that actually becomes the point of throwing the waste. Second most important thing is door-to-door collection. This has been made mandatory. One, door-to-door campaign in the sense household, whether it is household waste, whether it is institutional waste, whether it is shops based waste, whether it is hotel leftover food, everything has to be collected on the same day and door to door, and 100% ensuring that it is collected. Number 3, the separation of the wet waste and the dry waste.
That separation at the
source. Third important thing is the recycling of the entire waste. So while traveling from here to Devas, on the right side you will find there used to be a huge garbage disposal, the dumping yard. So people used to constantly complain about, you know, fire over there, smoke coming out, residing, if you go nearby there you will not able to actually smell, and the groundwater got almost poisoned. Today you will find that the whole place has been recycled. We have established a park over there. But what importantly is happening is nearly 1200 to 1400 metric tons of dry and wet waste that is collected from the entire city is recycled on the same day. So now classically we don't need any dumping yard anymore in Indore or in any other city of Madhya Pradesh, predominantly the major cities. So apart from this, we also did a very important thing, that is the audio-visual publicity campaign. So we created this song as an anthem, you know, Ho Halla, that actually it became famous. Yeah, I am actually part of it, I have written along with my colleague. So the anthem that we actually created, Ho Halla, the person who is going to collect garbage from door to door, you know, actually will, the song will be played on that particular vehicle, and it actually evokes this particular thing that, you know, one, the garbage collector is going to come to your house, he's coming, he is nearby. Then you come out of your house and actually you give your waste. Second, it is also making people pride of actually making their city clean. So way back when I was a student, I was part of the Scouts and Guides, organization. So in the early mornings, there used to be a song which used to be played, and I recollect very well, and most of you also must have been, whether it is NCC or NSS or Scouts and Guides, उठ जाग मुसाफिर भोर गए, अब चैन कहाँ जो सोवत है वो खोवत है, जो जागत है वो पावत है. So early mornings when 5 o'clock, when this song used to be 5, you get up as soon as you hear that song, and you get ready and you get onto the field. So there has to be something which actually needs to wake you up and tell that you are ready for the campaign, you are ready for the day. So this Ho Halla song actually played that role and actually woke up the entire city of Indore and made them very proud to make the city clean and continue to make it the cleanest city in the country.
You also did something in terms of mechanized cleaning. Can you share about that?
See, now a lot of things have happened. After we successfully made Indore first time cleanest city. Then we actually went on to create lot of infrastructure. So we have these concepts of actually the garbage, the waste, the wet waste is from that biogas is actually generated. From the dry waste is separated into different, there are different particles which are there in that. Now we have a huge plant established at different parts of the city, wherein the entire dry waste is actually goes there, gets separated mechanically, and is stored. They are stored into different, whether it is bags or bins, and sold. So now the entire process of this whole thing is so mechanized that that's what I am saying, that 1200 to 1400 metric tons of waste now doesn't go to any dumping yard. It is totally mechanized and it is now sold. Now it is to the extent that each colony actually is collecting their dry waste and wet waste. Wet waste, they are generating biogas out of that, and the dry waste, they are actually segregating that waste and selling. For example, plastic, they sell it. If it is, let us say, cloth-based waste, it is actually dried and then sold it to people who can recycle it again. So now it has taken a different shape altogether.
And that's classical waste to wealth that is getting talked about now. So essentially you are saying when you started off, the key strategy was no bins in the city, and you want to collect waste from every household, every shop, every kind of hotel, and segregate the waste at source, and then make sure that's a full collection. And to kind of get the public or the citizens involved in it, you had this Ho Halla campaign and so on, which is a call to action basically to say that one of the house and give your waste. And once this thing got going, and with all the cleaning of roads and mechanized cleaning, then subsequently a lot of automation has happened in the subsequent years. When all of this is now collected, now there are kind of segregation happens, it's already segregated, but each kind of segregation gets either sold off or disposed of or converted into something for like biogas and so on. So this all now mechanized over the years. But in the beginning, the core thing was segregation at source and collection from. Got it. The other question I have, the last one related to Swachhta, is on replication, because you, after Indore, you went and became the Commissioner Municipal Administration, and now you had all the municipal corporations and this under you. How easy or difficult has it been to replicate the Indore model to other cities and other places? Can you share some light on that?
Absolutely. See, any successful model, you have many owners for that, and Indore definitely has, as I have mentioned to you, the public are the heroes of this particular campaign. Now, after Indore became the cleanest city, now the state government of Madhya Pradesh, it was a challenge for many other cities also needs to replicate what Indore has done. Apart from that, many cities from the entire country and many governments actually send their municipal commissioners, mayors to see how Indore has been able to do, make Indore cleanest city. Now, what is more interesting to actually understand is, I suppose now more than 100 countries actually have visited Indore to see how Indore has been able to make it the cleanest city in the country. And what is even more interesting, which I would want everybody to appreciate, is that now it is no longer that you will actually go and see Indore, how it became the cleanest city. You need to pay actually to see why Indore became the cleanest city. I would like you to actually clap for Indorians to actually not only making the cleanest city, but you need to pay to see how it became the cleanest city. Now, more than 100 countries actually visited Indore. Their members of parliament or their country heads actually have visited and seen. Replication, yes, it has been documented. So what Indore has been able to do has been very well documented. And thanks to media, they have also actually widely covered how Indore became the cleanest city. So for the state government, it became easier, rather I would say, than being difficult, because you just go and see and replicate what has been done. I would mention here that Bhopal similarly had a dumping yard of about 14 acres prime land, and you won't believe that the entire place has now been cleaned. The whole place has been cleaned, and nearly 8 acres of that land is being used by the municipal corporation for their own purposes. Rest of the another 6 acres, they have sold it, and they got more than 20 crores worth money, which they are using for the welfare of the city of Bhopal. So you can just imagine that there is no need for dumping yards anymore. And replication, what Indore has done, Bhopal also has been able to do, and Bhopal is the cleanest capital of the country. That's another milestone that we have been able to achieve. So what I would say is that it has become easier for us to show people, to show administrators, to show public representatives that if Indore can do, any other city as well can do.
How many municipal corporations in Madhya Pradesh, and where are they in the?
There are 16 municipal corporations in.
And where are they in the Swachh Sarvekshan?
Oh, most of them are now under 100. In the rankings, if you see, most of them like Gwalior, Jabalpur, Ujjain. Ujjain has always been in the top 10 cleanest cities in the country.
So that's commendable. And I can say yesterday night I was at this Sarafa street food at night, right? And it also rained yesterday. So it was in that sense not the best day, but still I can tell you there were 100 and 120 odd shops there, but no litter anywhere, even at night in such congested kind of environment. So I think it's a commendable thing that's happened in Indore, and as you were saying, the people have taken ownership, and once that happens, then sustainability is ensured. Great. The next thing I want to talk to you about is something again very I would say impactful. When I studied Samagri in 2012, I traveled extensively across the country before that for 6 odd months, and I ended up the beginning of those travels actually happened from Madhya Pradesh, where I was trying to understand how wheels of governance move on the ground. I shadowed collectors, SDMs, Patwari, Nambardar, different administrators. I spent time in Bhopal, in Hoshangabad, in Goda, Jabalpur, Vidisha. One thing that came up very repeatedly at the point in time, this 2012, is the success of the Ladli Laxmi Yojana. So everywhere I would go, that will be there will be talk about that, and will be touted as one of the biggest successes that the government then had. I kind of know about the scheme, and later on it got also somewhere picked up nationally as the Beti Bachao Beti Badhao Abhiyan. Also it has gotten replicated by different names in different states. Now I know that you are the person behind it who really drafted or conceptualized that Ladli Laxmi Yojana. So again, like Swachh Indore, tell me a little bit about the genesis of it, because the then Chief Minister and also now Chief Minister is also somebody who's kind of known for these kind of schemes, and in fact he's known here as Mamaji. He's kind of does a lot of things for for the girl child and for women. So can you share about the genesis of it and also then the design of the scheme, what exactly the scheme is?
So what exactly happened was 2001 census. See, the 2001 census actually opened the eyes for the entire country, and more importantly administrators and the public representatives. 2001 census actually gave this data how the child sex ratio of the entire country, and most importantly some of the states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, the child sex ratio, when I say child sex ratio, it is under 5. The number of girls to number of boys under 5 is the child sex ratio. So 2001 census clearly mentioned how the child sex ratio of Madhya Pradesh has dwindled from the previous census and went on to reach to about 912 or 915 if I remember.
Which is very poor, which is really
absolutely bad. Poor. Now what happened? What happened just prior to 2001? What exactly happened was the sonography machines. The sonography machines which were introduced somewhere in 90s and predominantly in the entire country, the sonography machines were actually used to ensure that the fetus that is growing in any womb is free of any abnormalities. Actually, that is the sole purpose of sonography machine. Now, sonography machines actually became, I would say, killer machines for female girl children. So, from 1981 to 2001, the child sex ratio dwindled so badly that it made the administrators to stand up and see what actually has gone wrong. So also in Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, there are the child sex ratio came down to 915 odd. Apart from that, there are pockets in Madhya Pradesh like Gwalior and Chambal, wherein the child sex ratio was went down as decimal to 840, which is absolutely appalling, and the government realized that something needs to be done. So I was Municipal Commissioner Indore from 2005-06, wherein I was changed or moved because of certain reasons and was posted. Apparently, it was told that it is loop line posting for me in Bhopal as kind of punishment posting. That's what it was told, that you are now ICDS project director and Mahila Bal Vikas, they called it a loop line posting. So I went there, and that is when our Chief Minister actually sat with us and told that we need to do something about this dwindling child sex ratio. There is rampant female feticide, sex determination and female feticide. Something needs to be done. See, there are two ways of controlling this whole thing. One, you actually put a tab on the rampant use of sonography machines for sex determination. It is enforcement. That is one side.
You need the stick.
Yeah, you need the stick. That's one side. Then the second side of this whole thing is actually to convince parents not to actually go for sex determination and female feticide. Girl child is equally important. And a campaign needs to be run to ensure that people, public at large, community at large, and parents in specific actually need to understand that girl child, the female feticide should be brought down. So this is when actually I travelled extensively to Tamil Nadu. I went to Haryana, Punjab and different parts of Madhya Pradesh. And finally, having spoken to the stakeholders in a series of meetings, we realized that there needs to be an incentive that needs to be given to the parents to ensure that they shouldn't feel that the birth of girl child is a burden on them. So that is when we actually came with this particular scheme called Ladli Laxmi Yojana in 2007. It was launched on 1st of April 2007. The interesting aspect of this whole thing is that it's not about just giving incentive on the birth of a girl child, but also ensuring that in the life cycle of a girl child, right from her birth till she actually gets married, her requirements are actually taken care by this particular scheme. And that is when a girl child is born, 30,000 rupees is deposited against the girl child, and it shall be in the name of girl child, not the parents. When she actually passes 6th class, she'll be given 2,000. When she passes 8th class, she'll be given 4,000. When she passes 10th class, she'll be given 6,000. And she will not marry before 18 years. If she gets, she shouldn't marry before 18 years. And she should appear for the 12th class inevitably. That is mandatory. So if you see all these things, there is an incentive which is built into at different stages of the girl child. And very importantly, the girl child shouldn't die. In the event of the death of girl child, the money will go to the government, not to the parents. Because if the parents can kill their girl child female feticide, they will also kill her for the money. So we ensure that the money goes only to the girl child and not to the parents. And that is how this scheme became extremely successful. And I'm very proud to say that I've been part of designing of the scheme, and 45 lakh girl children are benefited in Madhya Pradesh because of one single scheme. And apart from that, now in the revised IFHS data, that is India the Family Health Survey, the overall child sex ratio of Madhya Pradesh after the introduction of this scheme, nearly 15 years now, has gone more than 956 around. So you can understand that now one female feticide, the sex determination has to a large extent has been diminished. And apart from that, the girl child is taken care her during the different ages of her life cycle. Her needs are being taken care. And I'm also very proud to announce that 15 states of the country copied this scheme. 15 states of the country copied this scheme, and I would say that more than 5 crore girl children are benefited out of this one scheme that has been designed in Madhya Pradesh.
I think this is fascinating. It goes on to show how a well-conceived or thoughtful design of a scheme, how deep an impact it can have. It's not just about giving some direct benefit or giving some direct money. It's a fundamental social change that has been triggered by something like this.
Absolutely. This is what this is what everybody needs to understand, the future management bosses who are sitting over here. What I would like to mention to you is that, one, never design a scheme without talking to the stakeholders. The talking to the stakeholders is extremely, extremely important for designing a scheme, number one. Make all your stakeholders partners in whenever you design a scheme, project, everything. And more importantly, ensure that the implementation of the scheme, I was there 15 years back while designing the scheme. I'm no longer there in that particular department, but still that scheme is sustaining and is extremely useful, because there is a lot of energy, lot of thinking which has gone into the designing of the scheme. So the designing of the scheme is extremely important, and that is the reason the scheme has been been successful and still being run.
Yeah, that's great. From this, I want to move on to another topic, which again doesn't get discussed as much, but is extremely important and impactful again, is the work that you did as collector Gwalior, if I'm not mistaken, of making Gwalior one of the most accessible cities, right? Accessible, I don't think at the time there was the national program of Accessible India, Sugamya Bharat, but you made a set of changes in the city such that it becomes accessible for the differently abled, for the old age people, and so on and so forth. It also got covered in Satyamev Jayate at the time.
It was covered.
But you could explain a little bit again, what was the thinking and what exactly did you do?
See, this Accessible India, that particular project, making public places accessible. If I happen to actually get onto this stage, of course, I've been able to easily climb onto this. But for people who are physically challenged, and for people who are temporarily disabled, you might be playing some game and you got, your ligament tear or some issue happened with your legs, you can't actually climb onto the stair, this particular platform. So most of us will live beyond 80 years, most of us. The reason being good environment, good health facilities and all those things. So if you have been to many countries, what you will see, and also what we are going to see in India as well, is 4 generations living together. 4 generations living together. That is, in a house, you will see that not only your grandparents, your great grandparents will also be there with you for their great grandchildren. So what is more important is that if you all happen to go to a film, or you want to go to attend a function, maybe a marriage or something else, you actually need to have places accessible. And that is what I have realized way back when I was collector of Gwalior in from 2009 to 2013. 14 was that to make public places, especially you come across many a number of people who actually reach your collectorate with lot of applications. They have certain problems which needs to be resolved. Apart from that, whether it is railway stations or bus stands or any such places where people they need to get transported. All these places seemed extremely inaccessible. I had a problem with my own father. He was not well. I came to Ujjain. He wanted to do darshan, but he couldn't walk. So I checked for the wheelchair, and classically the wheelchair was tied with chains in a particular room of the railway station master. So this is how people behave as if wheelchairs are meant to be tied, wheelchairs are not supposed to be used, or accessibility is not something which should be common, whereas accessibility should be common, it should be available, it should be for everybody. It's not just about old age persons, it is also for pregnant women, for example. It has to be extremely accessible, so that you go to a hospital and you have to climb many stairs. So this is what I have realized as collector, and I converted, most importantly, all the public places. I made them accessible. 1, ramps; 2, railings; 3, signages, and also ensuring that if a particular public place is not accessible, there shall be a heavy fine imposed on the government officer. And that actually made people realize. So classically what I used to do was, this is a very important thing you should all need to understand, is that I made all the government officers, a 1-day training for them. And what we did, we actually we closed their eyes, tied some band on their eyes. We made them sit on a wheelchair, and we asked them to actually access that particular place where we were actually giving training. So when you actually make them temporarily disabled for that particular 1 day's event, then you suddenly realize that how difficult it is for you to actually access. You want to go to the toilet, but you can't walk. You are sitting on the wheelchair because you are part of the training and you are not supposed to walk. And if your eyes are closed, how will you actually access a toilet, or how will you actually get onto a particular stage? And that is when people realize that what kind of society have we created for ourselves. And that actually changed. And public government offices or public places, whether it is colleges, universities, hospitals, they all converted their places suo motu on their own into accessible places.
That's very interesting. And now it's a national mission. And
now it's a national mission. Now you will find a lot of places accessible. There's a lot of awareness. Now even if you go to any amusement park, you will find the places are accessible, and that's how it should be. And I request all of you to take your grandparents along with you. Don't tell them that hum to jayenge, aap to ghar pe baithe rehna. Don't do that. Take them as well. One day we'll also actually reach on to that particular stage, and you just realize that just because the place might not be accessible, you shouldn't ask them to just sit at home, and that's how it should be. And I request all of you to actually appreciate this and convert even your house into an accessible place. There could be people who might be coming to your house, they should be able to access your house as well.
No, this is very interesting. All the examples that we talked about, be it Swachh Indore, be it Ladli, Laxmi, Yojana, be it Gwalior being made accessible, all of these are things that you did in your kind of jurisdiction, so to say. And all of them have kind of gone on to become models which are kind of either replicated in other districts, other cities or other parts of the country, and even taken up as national missions like Accessible India, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and so on. So I think that's the power of good, impactful, sustainable transformation that can be picked up. Another thing that you did is on social media, because of course Prime Minister Modi is one of those public figures who started using social media very early on, almost kind of not having to depend on the traditional media to reach out to the citizens and so on, and now it's a norm in the public space. But administrators also started using social media extensively. Amongst the administrators, you were one of the quote unquote the early adopters of the technology to say, okay, let's use social media to directly engage with the citizens. When did it start? What did you start using social media with? I know subsequently you've also done it for the state, but just the genesis again of it.
So I was collector Gwalior when, that's 2009-10, that's when in 10-11. So that was the earlier stage of actually the Facebook that arrived. And we being amongst those young IAS officers who actually saw the emergence of social media. Somewhere or the other, Gwalior being a city, and if as a public servant I should be accessible to my citizens, people. So that's when I realized that I will create a page and be accessible to the public and ask them to actually send their suggestions, complaints, and all those things on my Facebook page, so that I understand what are their issues, problems, and resolve them as well. And that is a huge click, because I was one among those earlier civil servants who realized the importance of social media. And subsequently, obviously, and I was, as collector Indore also, I used social media a lot. Classically, I used to find a lot of young kids, very young kids going to school. They always used to say, ki, sir, aap chutti kab declare karoge? Chutti, I used to declare holidays when it used to heavily rain or during the summer, and there used to be a lot of joy amongst the children, of course not the parents, So, so this is the power of social media. So we should use whatever we have at our hands for positive purposes. Yeah. So I was the Commissioner of Public Relations later on. So I actually, what you see today, social media of Madhya Pradesh government, all the handles, including the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, who has now more than 7-8 million followers on his Facebook page, on his Twitter page. So now all the governments are using. Now even the collectors, the public relations officers, the divisional commissioners, the police, the public representatives, all the departments now are actually on social media, and social media is a very powerful tool, and dissemination of information. Not only dissemination of information, apart from that, feedback. You get a lot of feedback from the public on government schemes, policies, programs, and also big bats. If you don't do something good, they'll also give you back. So you understand the importance of interacting with public and actually getting a better feedback. And I would say that is great tool, and that's what I would say. Indore becoming the cleanest city, there was a lot, I would attribute a lot of importance to social media. So the interaction with media, interaction with public through social media has been tremendous, I would say. Yeah, see, I have written 8 books, out of which 6 are about the government programs, policies, and all those things. See, I'm writing only those things which I can do while in service. Most of those controversial things I will actually publish when I'm out of service. So that is left for posterity, But what I'm saying is, we should document what we do. See, government servants like me, the kind of enriching experience we actually encounter is tremendous. The kind of work we do, while being in the field or while being at the state level, making policies, programs, designing them, actually implementing them. The kind of set of people we actually come across is enormous, absolutely fabulous. So the first one is Mau. I was subdivisional magistrate of Mau here for 6 months only. So very interesting thing happened was at that point of time, Mau being it's a military area, it's a cantonment. Even today, it's a cantonment. So there was something which was happening at that point in time called resumptions. So the cantonment guys, they were actually throwing away the civilians from the cantonment area, saying that you guys are unauthorizedly occupying these places, and these belong to the cantonment or the military. You shouldn't stay here. So that is when, because I am a subdivisional officer, subdivisional magistrate, so I represent the public. So I am a civilian authority. I am not part of the cantonment, So those guys came to me saying that we are being thrown away from here in the name of resumptions. Something needs to be done. So that is when I actually sat with some of the renowned people of Mahu at that point of time, and some lawyers, some very old guys who have been living here. So they gave me a lot of interesting stuff about the lands that they are owning. So when I went through that whole thing, I realized that if somebody is living here for last 200 years, how come you don't belong to this place anymore? How come you are staying on a piece of land for last 200 years? And the Treaty of Mysore, that is what I actually, I got hold of all those papers. The Treaty of Mysore of 1805, I got hold of that particular paper, Treaty of Mysore, wherein there was a pact between the Maharaja of Indore and the Britishers, saying that this piece of land is being given to the Britishers for establishing their military, whatever military at that point of time called a military station, which went on to become a cantonment. So when I came across all those documents from 1805, 1806 Treaty of Mysore till 1947, when the Indore got merged into, when the Indore got merged into the Indian Union, I caught hold of a lot of papers. I went to National Archives. I went to National Archives in Delhi and got certain papers. The merger of Indore Holkar dynasty, Holkars into Indian Union, and I actually showed that this land doesn't belong to the military. In fact, it belongs to the civilian authorities. And that is when that particular document which I prepared, the lawyers of the civilians of Mau took that document, went to High Court and got a stay on resumptions. And that is how that particular document became extremely useful for the civilians of Mau. And later on I realized that people were using that document very, very effectively, and it was very useful. That is how I converted that particular document into a book, and which is still is in relevance. And later on, whichever work I was doing, whether it was Indore's work or whether it was Ladli Laxmi Yojana, later on the 13 years of journey of Ladli Laxmi Yojana, I published into a document by name Betiya, how 15 states copied that scheme, different names, and how many girl children got benefited out of that. So it's a journey wherein I document everything that I do. We should always have some hobbies, avocation, or you should be able to actually spend your lot of time on your trying to gain knowledge out of, most importantly, apart from your governmental work or your administrative work or the job or career that you are into, you should also get into a lot of other things which will help you in your personality building, From a normal person to becoming a spiritual person, it's a journey. That is a very, very important thing. With age you realize, and more importantly, COVID has made us realize very fast, that you're not going to live forever. And more importantly, there will be COVID many times, and you might suddenly disappear from this planet. So before that, let's try to see those elements from our own civilization which will enable us to become a better person, to evolve into a spiritual person. And apart from that, if there are elements which can actually make others' lives simpler, easier and livable, and that's when I started looking into our own civilizational things. If we are able, if it is being said that we are a 5,000-year-old civilization, and if there are elements in our civilization which are enabling us to survive despite COVID kind of pandemics, that means there are certain depths which we need to actually fathom and try to realize and try to actually put them into your way of living. And that is when these books, both these books, The Great Tale of Hinduism, The Great Vedic Tales, these two books actually have come out of this understanding that I need to learn a lot to see how great is our civilization.
And what did you learn and what did you put in those two books?
See, basically it's about a lot of what actually is into these books is all about stories that our parents, grandparents actually tell us when we are children. The stories that are told to us, and that actually gets into our subconscious mind and makes us realize the importance of our continuity, our living, the purpose of living. So those stories I picked out from what I was told during my childhood. A lot of research went into it, and those stories, whether it is the great tale of Hinduism, it's tales, the great Vedic tales, again tales. So here we are talking about the evolutionary process, more importantly how sound, language, dance, drama, music, how all these things evolved. So a lot of this is in the second book, The Great Vedic Tales. The reason why I support a lot of youngsters who are preparing for civil services is because of my own journey. I come from a village background, humble background. My father was tailor by profession. So from the village, I actually studied in government schools, colleges, and then I came to Hyderabad. I couldn't clear my IIT, then I studied in Osmania University, engineering. I prepared for my civil services in a government study circle, free of cost, and somehow made it to the civil services in my second attempt itself. I also cleared.
Civil services coaching.
Yeah, government provides civil services coaching even today also.
Many people would know that.
Yeah, so in Telangana, Andhra, southern states, government actually provides civil services coaching, and they are very good, extremely good. And apart from that, I also cleared my Indian engineering services in my first attempt. I worked as scientist before joining the Indian Administrative Services for about 1.5 years. So my struggle as a student on scholarships in government colleges, to prepare for civil services, getting into government coaching centers and all those things. I feel somewhere or the other my becoming a civil servant is not that important, but once you become a civil servant, I should make many more of those who are from humble backgrounds to reach and realize their dreams. And that is when last 23 years I have been guiding a lot of these guys, whether it is physically or in a virtual media. I go, I take classes, I try to mentor them, motivate them, guide them in certain areas of preparing for civil services, even interviews, for preparing for interviews. One thing that is very, very important in life is to ensure that your potential is realized to the fullest extent. Your potential as a human being, your potential as an officer, your potential as an administrator, your potential should be realized, should be used to the fullest extent. And I feel giving back to the society, the best way is to actually mentor and try to ensure that as many such people, such persons actually make it to the civil services.
This is very inspirational. Everything that you're talking about, from the work that you've done, from the books that you write, from supporting aspirants to kind of get into civil services, I think every aspect of your work is hugely inspirational, is what I can say.
Yeah, as I mentioned, in my talk, Indore model is now a well-known, documented model. It is a well-documented model, not only by me, but by Government of India as well. If you see the guidelines which are issued by the Government of India now as a part of Swachh Bharat mission, has the Indore model in it. So it is now actually being implemented, and lot of replication is going on, and lot of cities got benefited out of this whole thing. So, but still I would say there is a human element to everything, whether the mayor of that particular town or city, whether the municipal commissioner of that particular town or city, whether the corporators over there, the ward members, the public, how they actually view this whole thing. Like Indorians viewed this as for their own benefit, you know, for their own benefit. So people need to realize that this is for our own benefit. See, the government officers or the public servants, public representatives will do a certain part of this whole thing. But public reaction, public ownership is extremely important. So whichever town or city where public reaction has been extremely positive, things have actually happened. And to a large extent, most of India's cities have now replicated many of those things what Indore has done. And you will see that relatively, India's cities are much cleaner than what they used to be 10 years back. So that is what I would say is the success of this whole model.
Let's have the second question from there.
What was the reason for you to take up cleanliness as a challenge back then when you were starting out, cleaning various districts or following Swachh Bharat? What was the reason for that, and what drove you to take up the challenge? Because back in those days, this is quite kind of like a novel thing that you have done. So, what was the reason for that?
I think just to overlay on that question, I think the other thing is about all the issues that one sees, right? How do you prioritize which one to really put your weight behind?
See, as I mentioned, you know, see, we all respond to situations, you know. Out of many works that are at our hand, we always try to see that this could be a thing that I should do, you know. So what I was doing everywhere as a collector, you know, I was collector for 4 districts and for 10 years, which is a bit of a record, you know, not many of them actually do that, go on to be like that. So while I was collector Singrauli, I did massive land acquisition and rehabilitation. I felt that was the need of that particular place. While I was collector Gwalior, I felt that I should handle a lot of this female feticide thing, you know, despite Ladli Laxmi, you know, there were still certain issues. So I brought in a concept called Hamari Ladli, you know, working on, they were putting devices on sonography machines, and then the barrier-free thing. So when I realized, when I came to Indore, it was just that this whole Swachh Bharat mission was announced, and Indore became the 25th city. So as soon as it was announced that Indore is 25th city and Mysuru is the cleanest city in the country, and that is when I realized that this is something we should take up, because it is a city related thing. And Indore, for Indore district, Indore is the most important city, administration is the most important thing, and that's when we realized that we should make Indore the cleanest city. So it is absolutely responding to situations. So what is important to that particular place, you should respond. And more importantly, you should also, as I mentioned to you, when I spoke to a lot of stakeholders, the public representatives, they also mentioned that we became 25th cleanest city. Why can't we try to make Indore the cleanest city? So that is how we prioritized and we worked and focused on it, and we actually were able to make it.
Yeah, let's have the next question.
Commendable job that you guys are doing with the keeping the city clean. Being an MBA student, we are always looking at the economic viability of the operations, right? So this is a tremendous task that you guys are performing, collecting tons of waste every day and also disposing it off at the same day. So when you go out of Indore, you realize how clean the city is. Like I came from Jaipur, I go there and how I compare it with both cities in terms of cleanliness. And even in Jaipur, we have tussles between the municipal corporation and the sanitation worker, how they are clearing up the bins. So I just wanted to know what are the economic viabilities of operations that are carrying out in such a
See, whenever we run a campaign, you know, there is a cost to the campaign. There is no doubt about that. But how long will the campaign be run? For example, when the Government of India started Swachh Bharat mission, it was a 3-year campaign, okay? So the Government of India gave 100 crores to the entire state, for the entire state, and it was a 90-10 ratio. That is 90 crores by Government of India, 10 crores by Government of Madhya Pradesh. And that was distributed amongst all the cities. So we had 14 municipal corporations then, now 16. So the fund flow from the state is done on the basis of what is provided by the government as in a campaign mode. But ultimately, you know, the opportunity cost, we should look at the opportunity cost to this whole thing. So in the first year when we implemented the Swachh Bharat mission, we collected data from the Indian Medical Association of Indore. So you will be very happy to know that in the first year of implementation of the Swachh Bharat mission, the OPD patients number fell by 40%. So just imagine that how much money, lesser money was spent by Indorians for their health needs in that 1 year. So 40% less. See the opportunity cost to this whole thing. So when we actually went back to people and told them that you are spending 40% less out of your pocket for health needs, for health requirements. So people could relate, people could understand. And then obviously, now what exactly has happened? So when I was Municipal Commissioner in Indore in 2005-06, the entire revenue collection, property tax, other taxes collection was 100 crores. Now today, the entire property tax and other taxes collection of Indore is nearly 1200 crores. So what exactly has happened? People's satisfaction. They have realized that they are happy with what they are actually paying the taxes to the state, to the city administration. So the tax collection increased. So if I am able to spend 50 crores on the campaign, say let us say in Indore city, I am able to get 500 crores more as revenue collection. So it is the opportunity cost that I am encashing on, the satisfaction of the citizens of Indore that I am encashing on, and ultimately it is going back to the public. And this is how we should run campaigns. So campaigns should always be run on the effectiveness of that particular campaign and how much is it going back into the pockets of the citizens. And that is how citizens will respond very, very positively and also pay taxes in time.
Just to add to that, right? So you're explaining the economic value of cleanliness, and that's immense. But just in terms of as an operational P&L, as you do as a municipal corporation, initially I'm sure there's a lot of investment that would have gone in setting up all of these things. And now you're saying you're also selling stuff that's kind of coming as waste and so on. So how does so is it, I'm assuming still a net?
No, it is a well-designed program. And now governments are also very smart. City administration is also very smart. So we employ a lot of your PMUs, you know, the kind of ENYs, PWCs and all these guys we employ in order to make a lot of these designing of projects or in the implementation stage. Apart from that, what is more important is government is now very good in designing programs and policies which are being taken to the last mile. Programs are not being run just for the sake of it. And if you guys actually want to look into, if you want to see how city administration or how government programs are being run, especially from the economic value of what it is being put into. Today, we are much, much more equipped than what we were 20 years back. So, I would say that the value for money that is being put now is much more higher than what it used to be.
Let's take the next question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions for you. So one of the things, of course, we talked about the cleanliness initiative and this is very different. One of the things that the cleanliness initiative has done is it has helped generate a lot of social capital for collective action by citizens. So my question to you is, what is the possibility that we can leverage on the social capital for doing other aspects of public good? For example, one of the things that citizens in Indore suffer from is poor adherence to traffic rules. So how can this social capital be leveraged? So that's my first question. The second is going to be very short. So what are some of the new ideas in innovative ideas in the areas of public-private partnerships? Tell us.
So let's see what the Swachh Bharat mission kind of thing. The cleanliness is a behavioral issue. It's a behavioral issue. So what needs to be done, and the campaign focused on, is more on behavioral issue. So it's not about construction of toilets. It is a behavioral issue. So what we focused on during the entire Swachh Bharat mission was, and the sustainability, this question is repetitively asked, is that if you are able to change the behavior of the person, you don't need to actually, the government need not give money for construction of toilets. So you feel it is your responsibility to actually have a toilet in your house and also use it. So what needs to be done effectively when it comes to creating social capital is more on, we should link each and every campaign more on behavioral change, whether it is traffic, whether it is cleanliness, whether it is if you are riding a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, adhering to the traffic rules is a behavioral issue. One, enforcement definitely is an issue. Second is also your behavioral issue. So if you go to let us say if you go to a town, let us say in Trichy, if you go to a town called Trichy, and even if there is no traffic person on the road, you will see that there is a traffic light which is red on, and the person will stop his vehicle irrespective of whether there is the traffic police or not. It's a behavioral issue. And even if there is a police personnel and there is a red light on, you are still driving ahead. It's a behavioral issue. That means you feel somewhere or the other it is not your responsibility. So what effectively we need to do every time about a campaign is to work more on the behavioral thing, and that is when we will be successful. So converting the social capital that we are creating, the social capital should effectively focus on change in the behavior. When you change the behavior of people, like the person who has been using toilet for a long time, let us say yourself. Now if you are asked to take a lota and go into the open, you would say, are you mad? But a person who has been using a lota and if you ask him to actually go to the toilet, he will say, why will I, I have been actually defecating in the open since my childhood. So his behavior needs to be changed, and that is what we have been able to do out of this campaign. So creating social capital, most important thing that as administrators, as persons in the management that we need to do anywhere, whether it is an institution or outside institution, has to be more on change of behavior. The behavior change is the ultimate thing. You know what? If Ladli Laxmi Yojana, even though it is an incentive based thing, but somewhere or the other it also changed the behavior towards girl children. And that is when they realized, there is an incentive by government, yet at the same time there is a need to actually ensure the girl child is born. So a behavioral change actually ensure that the girl children are born. So in the whole gamut of things that we do, we should always focus at the root of the thing rather than actually doing superficial things. And second, public-private partnerships, absolutely. I'll tell about when I was Municipal Commissioner in Indore, we did this thing called cement concrete roads in colony cement concrete roads. We said that you give the sand and the cement, and we will construct the cement road. This is what I did when I was Municipal Commissioner in Indore in 2005-06. So if somebody doesn't give, the colony fellow, what he will do is he will not the colony, the resident welfare association will collect that sand and cement, and they will give it to us, and we will construct and give the cement concrete road of that particular colony. So if somebody is not giving, we will leave that patch not to be constructed, and that enabled that everybody gives, contributes. When a survey was done, 98% of people felt that their money's worth has been actually spent by the municipal, by the city administration. And they felt it was constructed, the resident welfare association actually constructed that particular road, not the city administration. So public needs to be involved at every point of, whatever you are doing, as much as possible, whether it is public at large or whether it is institutions which are capable of actually doing those things, and you will get your money's worth, and that's how it should be. I did my engineering. I was a university topper of Usmania University, and then I also went as a scientist in Government of India, but I still felt that I'll be able to do better if I am into civil services. So you still have time, you still have that choice to do. So it will be your choice to get into civil services. And I always say, whether you are from IIM or IIT or a normal university, or you are a BSc graduate or BCom graduate, it is always useful in civil services. Civil services is such a place where whatever you have learned during your graduation or post-graduation can be put to use. For example, I am an engineer, so whether I was in the field or now in the policy making level, like I am now I'm the Secretary Industries. So a lot of engineering, it is easy for me to relate what actually is manufacturing. It is useful, and it is also useful for me in designing projects, programs, and policy making. Policy making is a very, one of your faculty members is here who's into teaching policy making. Policy making has lot of nitty-gritties, lot of technicalities. For example, I devised recently the startup policy of Madhya Pradesh. So I had lot of stakeholder conferences, and we give incentives to somebody who's actually got investment from SEBI or RBI recognized institution. We give employment allowance, we give rental allowance, we give intellectual property related allowances. So a lot of these nitty-gritties, technicalities are better understood by somebody who's actually been an engineer. And you being a graduate from IIM, you will understand, you will be able to make large impact and contribute a lot because you are learning those things while during your graduation. So anybody with a good background, really can help a lot in the administration. For example, I being from a humble background, I have seen that the importance of girl children. And I classically say this because we are 5 brothers and 1 sister, and she is the youngest. And we are 5 brothers and 1 sister because my father wanted a girl child. That's a very interesting thing. Generally, you'll find the other way. You'll have 5 sisters and 1 brother. So I always proudly say that my father was a visionary. He wanted a girl child, and that's why we are 5 brothers. And she is a professor now in Central University, and she is better educated than all of us. But what I'm saying is that humble background actually made me understand how people think when they actually going to a hospital, a sonographer, and ask them, whether we are going to have a boy or a girl, and what actually are their compulsions to go for a sex determination and female feticide. So my background, humble background, helped me in devising schemes. So I always say that your upbringing, your background, your education, your experience as if you have worked in a particular industry or a entity, that helps you a lot in civil services. And civil services is a very generalized service. So it helps a lot. And also, subsequently, when you actually go to the policy making level, now Government of India and also state governments have become smart. They see what kind of education you have been able to have. For example, I did my MA Economics after coming into the service. So that is helping me a lot actually in devising policies and programs. Now your second question regarding books, I read a lot of biographies and autobiographies. So that is my hobby. I am reading a book on Elon Musk now, the crazy fellow who actually built on to what he is today. I must have read about 200-300 books on of biographies, autobiographies. The toughest one was of Barack Obama. The language was the diction language was very difficult. It's a great guy. There's a book on Mayawati as well. It is very interesting. One should read because she wanted to become a civil servant and then realized that you can become a better, public servant by getting into politics. So that's another thing. She never wrote an exam, but she was actually preparing for civil services. A book which actually inspired me a lot is Roots by Alex Haley. I think you must have read or not read, I really don't know. That's a great book. And for my civil services also, when I wrote What's Your Hobby, I wrote reading biographies and autobiographies. And the UPSC board actually asked me, what is a book that you have recently read? And I actually read Roots by Alex Haley twice before going to the civil services interview. So that I was well prepared, that's how UPSC interview is all about. They ask you what you have written in your biodata, So Roots by Alex Haley is my most favorite book, all-time favorite, I would say. What's your other question? I forgot. Distractions, it's a very simple thing, timetable, Now we have Google Calendar also and timetable. So I think that's a better way. You need to plan your day, plan your week and plan your month. I think that's the best way of actually handling your time. If you don't have a plan, then you won't have time. If you have a plan, then you will have a lot of time. See, I would always say that it's not something new that I am mentioning. Always follow your passion. That's the most important thing. After a point of time, maybe like for me, after 23 years of in service, I realized that I have done the right thing of actually getting into the civil services because as Osmania University student of engineering, out of 60 of my batch, 59 are in US. I am the only one who came into civil services. And out of that 59, if anybody has any problem in India, they always call me back saying that please, I have some work in so-and-so government or so-and-so place, so-and-so problem, please there's a land issue, there is some other issue, they call me and say that please resolve that issue. So I feel that, I have done the right thing of getting into civil services. Despite the Y2K, I passed out in engineering in 1998 and I wrote my civil services in 2000, I'm of 2001 batch. So that was the Y2K era. So though somebody who knows about the Y2K era can relate this, at that point of time, anybody who did become some couple of courses left to US, and that's how we are now we have about 2% of the population of the US is of Indians, out of which 50% is South Indians, out of which every household of Hyderabad is in US. So that's a good thing that has happened, but what I would say is follow your passion. If you want, now fields are very broader, and there's something which I always quote nowadays is that the Honorable Prime Minister wants to make this country the largest economy by 2047, 5 trillion economy by 2025, and these are all possible figures. And who will do these things? We are going to do that. Nobody else is going to do that. We are going to do that. And how are we going to do that? We are going to do that by following our passion. Now, as on today, when I speak, there are 51 crore youth under 18 years in this country. There are 72 crore youth under 29 years in this country, out of 140 crore India's population. And there are so many opportunities. Thousands of opportunities are waiting for you to plunge into and convert all your ideas into a reality. That's what I would say. And even if you fail, you will gain a lot of experience. But try to follow your passion and try to innovate a lot of these things, and we are definitely going to make this place a better place to live. Thank you so much.
On this note, we can end. Thanks a lot for being on Sushasan and Campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat.